Today, we're cracking open a real-life medical mystery. This isn't about some rare exotic disease, though. The clues are hiding in plain sight, inside a completely routine blood test. We're talking about the case of the misleading lab test.
So, let me ask you something. What if the numbers on your lab report, the very thing your doctor uses to make a diagnosis, were basically telling a lie? What if they were pointing a finger at a disease you don't actually have? All right, so our story starts where so many of these mysteries do, with a lab result that just doesn't make any sense. A real head-scratcher for the doctors involved.
Okay, so let's break down this paradox. Typically, if you have hypothyroidism, that's an underactive thyroid, your TSH level is high, right? That's the hormone telling your thyroid to get to work. And because the thyroid isn't working, your free T4, the active hormone it makes, is low. And you feel it. You're tired, you gain weight. But our mystery cases are different. We're seeing patients with a sky-high TSH, but their free T4 is totally normal. And here's the kicker. They feel completely fine. No symptoms at all. It just doesn't add up.
So, what on earth is going on? Well, it turns out the problem might not be with the patient at all. The problem might be with the test itself. It's time to meet the culprits, who I'm calling the lab test tricksters.
So, suspect number one is a molecule called macro-TSH. Now, this is the regular TSH hormone, but it's been handcuffed to an antibody. This makes it a big, clunky mess that's way too large to actually do its job in the body. It's biologically inactive. The problem is, the lab test, it doesn't see that. It just sees a ton of TSH and sounds the alarm, giving a falsely high reading.
Here's a great way to picture it. Imagine a person walking around in a giant, inflatable sumo wrestler costume. A security camera that just measures size would see this huge figure and go haywire. But the regular-sized person inside can't actually lift a car, right? That's macro-TSH. The lab test sees a giant, but it's all just a costume.
Now, macro-TSH doesn't always work alone. It often has an accomplice, heterophile antibodies. These guys are the real meddlers. They basically just gum up the works by sticking to the chemicals inside the lab test itself. This creates a fake signal, tricking the machine into thinking there's more TSH than there actually is. They're professional con artists at the molecular level.
So, with our two main suspects lined up, a team of researchers decided it was time to play detective. They set up an investigation to figure out just how often these tricksters were causing all this confusion. It was time to crack the case.
So here's how they did it. First, they screened about 1,500 patients and zeroed in on 135 who fit that mystery profile. Really high TSH, but normal free T4. Then they brought in the special forensic tools. They used something called serial dilution to sniff out those meddling heterophile antibodies, and another technique called PEG precipitation to unmask our prime suspect, macro-TSH. And when they got all the results back and analyzed the data from those 135 mystery cases, well, what they found was genuinely surprising.
So what was really going on? Get this. Only about 53%, just a little over half of these patients actually had a real thyroid condition. A whopping 36% of the confusing results were caused by those interfering heterophile antibodies. And another 11% were caused by that macro-TSH imposter. You do the math. That means nearly half of these people didn't actually have the disease their initial tests pointed to. It was all a lab error.
Just think about that 11% for a second. That's about 1 in every 9 people in this group who could have been put on lifelong medication for a condition they didn't even have, all because of a molecular disguise fooling a machine.
And the scale of the error, it was massive. The average TSH level in that macro-TSH group was 61. 61! Just to put that in perspective, the normal upper limit is somewhere around 4 or 5. This just goes to show how wildly misleading a lab test can be, spitting out numbers that look terrifying but are biologically meaningless.
So what does this all mean for doctors on the front lines trying to make the right call? Well, this whole investigation gives them a powerful new set of clues to work with. The big takeaway here is for clinicians to really trust their instincts. When the lab report just doesn't line up with the actual person sitting in front of them, especially a person with 0 symptoms, that should be a huge red flag. A super high TSH with a normal free T4 means it's time to dig deeper, maybe run a specialized test, or even send a sample to a different lab. It's all about one simple thing: avoiding unnecessary treatment for healthy people.
This is a massive wake-up call. It's a plea for, as the researchers themselves put it, caution and a more nuanced interpretation of thyroid function tests. It's really a reminder to be a detective, to look beyond the numbers on a page and investigate the whole story.
And that kind of brings us to our final thought. This whole case, this entire mystery, was unraveled simply by questioning a number that most of us would take as an absolute fact. And it leaves us with a really important question. If a test this common can be so easily fooled, what other medical facts out there might deserve a second look?